Microsoft, the historical giant of the PC industry, finds itself amidst a changing customer demographic, moving away from the PC market and towards mobile and tablet devices. In spite of this, the CEO feels as if he can successfully navigate his company, Microsoft, towards success if he is able to coordinate all of its businesses internally and externally in one consolidated direction. My team firmly believes that in order to implement this successfully, they have to implement the 2C strategy of customization and collaboration. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Wesley, and today with me are my team, Lena, Jonathan, and Suen. We shall be presenting the case on Microsoft.
So without further ado, let us delve into the situational analysis and first begin to understand what are Microsoft's core competencies. So we see that Microsoft has three primary competencies. The first is with regards to its software development, its Office platform, as well as Windows, which has been proliferated through the PCs in the PC market. Secondly, we see that Microsoft's competency lies in the openness of the experience that it can provide to its user. And last but not least, we see that its software itself is actually very customizable and compatible with many different softwares.
Essentially then, within the PC market, this is what has propelled Microsoft to its heights within this market, because developers and users understand that whatever experience they want is available to them given enough effort in that area. However, we find that Microsoft lacks significantly in the current market in terms of innovation, viewed both internally and externally in terms of their products, and essentially an absence of their hardware competency, which is a trend that most of its major competitors have been moving towards.
So therefore, we understand that the current battle that Microsoft has to engage in is that of placing mobile first and cloud first. And what we mean by this is essentially we see a shift in technology from the PCs to actually the mobile devices, such as the smartphones and the tablets. And we understand that this is what caused PC sales to actually stagnate, while causing these tablets and smartphone sales to actually skyrocket. And this is exemplified by the Apple's rise as compared to Microsoft.
Essentially then, you can see a correlated fall in terms of their profits within this industry, and what this indicates is that Microsoft has to make a move, and soon, before it finds itself falling too far behind in order to catch up with its major competitors.
So we see that in order to break into the mobile market, as we have identified to be a fast-growing one, it has actually taken steps to acquire Nokia just last year in September 2013. However, there are many skeptics of this acquisition because a lot of people question the value of Nokia within the Microsoft company itself. So how exactly can Microsoft make use of this Nokia deal?
So essentially then, we see within the mobile product industry, we find Nokia's hardware, which at this point in time is not competing effectively within the mobile device market. And on the other hand, you look at Microsoft's software. And in terms of its software has been lauded as being essentially incompatible with a lot of systems, with a lot of user interface problems, and that is a problem on Microsoft's end. So what Microsoft hopes through this deal is that a combination perhaps of Nokia's hardware and Microsoft's software will enable both of these companies to break out of the rut that they are currently in.
So to this end, Microsoft has actually the previous Microsoft CEO has actually launched the One Microsoft vision, and essentially what this entails externally is the key issue of whether or not Nokia can actually Microsoft can actually successfully integrate Nokia's hardware with Microsoft software and actually combine the synergies of both platforms.
So essentially then, our team believes that this One Microsoft direction has to be applied all across Microsoft, both internally and externally. So externally, they have to integrate Nokia's hardware into the rest of its business, and within the mobile market, find synergies between Microsoft software and this new influx of hardware capabilities that Microsoft currently has.
And this essentially will be tackled by our first strategy of customizers. And secondly, we look at the internal direction with regards to One Microsoft, and we see that there are many problems that have stemmed from actually the acquisition of Nokia itself. And we can see that innovation is actually taking place at a very slow pace within Microsoft, and this is something that needs to be rectified. Also, we see that there are significant barriers between the Microsoft and the Nokia team, and this is something that we have to address going forward as well in order to ensure the successful integration of the Microsoft's mobile phone going forward.
So essentially then, One Microsoft has to take place more than just structurally, but internally in terms of their HR and externally in terms of their strategy and product development.
So let us first delve into our first strategy of customizers, which is essentially targeted at the integration of Nokia's hardware with Microsoft's software.
So the aim of this is to bring the Microsoft customer experience within the PC market and bring this value of its customer experience to the other device markets as well. In terms of an overview then, Microsoft should expand their advantages in terms of how easy it is to develop programs for the PC market and using Windows, and expand these advantages to the phone and tablet markets as well.
So what we see is that within the PC market itself, Microsoft does indeed have an extremely dominant position with regards to its software. However, we see that it has been experiencing stagnating revenue. And as previously mentioned, we know that the technology has actually shifted from the PC to the mobile devices. So therefore, we see the need to actually shift Microsoft's focus towards the mobile devices, where we see that Microsoft actually has a very minimal market penetration with regards to the mobiles as well as the tablets, which it has not been successful in. And secondly, we see that there is a lack of a developer ecosystem within the mobile devices. And last but not least, we see that it is very limited by the popularity of existing devices within the mobile industry, such as those of Apple as well as Samsung.
Essentially then, although to date Microsoft has been able to fuel its current status within each of these markets by its dominance in the PC market, in order to ensure long-term success moving forward, Microsoft has to replicate its success within this PC market by analyzing what has made it successful in the first place. And in analyzing this, our team firmly believes that what made it successful in the PC market was first and foremost the open software base, which allowed both developers and users alike to essentially customize their experience with Microsoft in terms of their OS, in terms of the hardware as well. And therefore, this can easily be summed up as the customization of the user experience.
So in analyzing what the customers within the mobile market actually value, we see that first of all, they value technological specifications. However, this is currently Samsung's strong suit, and this is not an area in which we intend to compete in. Secondly, we determined that actually these users are looking out for ease of usage of their mobile devices. However, this area is currently captured very strongly by Apple with its iPhone and iPad devices. However, thirdly, we see that what they value is also affordability, and this is where other brands, other peripheral brands such as Sony actually capture the mid-market.
So essentially then, what other niche does Microsoft have within this market? We find that the last niche that Microsoft has comes in terms of the value-added user experience. Essentially, we understand that no two customers are alike, and therefore if Microsoft was able to put personalization back into mobile and tablet devices, such as the level of personalization that they have achieved within the PC market, then they'll be able to tap on the unique needs, the unique concerns, and more importantly, the unique style of use of customers within these two device markets.
So essentially what we aim to do is we want to turn our customers in the mobile market into customizers. So we intend to combine the synergy of the Nokia device with the synergy of Microsoft software to create a customization of the entire mobile experience.
So the three pillars of this product development then would be allowing users customization, having integration, and lastly providing both of these in a form that provides value to these customers through this singular product.
So we see that with regards to customization, essentially what we want to do is to create an openness with regards to the hardware that we are going to push out. And so we want to see that the choice of hardware would then be, is then left to the consumer to decide exactly how they want to utilize this particular mobile device. So do they want, they could include a camera, graphic driver quality, and choose their own memory storage if they so wished.
Essentially then, what we are proposing here is that Microsoft has a base unit. For example, if it were to be a mobile phone in this case, then on top of that base unit, you have add-on components. For example, a camera, perhaps hardened exterior, or even graphics upgrades or RAM upgrades. And therefore, the whole concept of this product design will be modular as opposed to packaging it for a customer and forcing Microsoft's existing customers to essentially choose what Microsoft has already chosen for them.
So we understand that in allowing our users to actually customize the hardware, the software must also be able to recognize whatever the hardware has been customized to. And therefore, we will allow the user, we will program it such that the user interface would definitely be able to detect the attached hardware. So it will come with the, uploaded with the ability to search for a user or company developed software drivers.
So we understand that user experience is fundamental and each of them have their unique needs and concerns, and therefore on top of having seamless integration, we must ensure that there is an integration with the existing cloud services that Microsoft has, expanding the seamless use within this singular product over into the users of the PC market who use Windows as well.
So then we see the kind of value that we can offer to our consumers is firstly a very, very unique experience, because users are essentially able to choose the exact kind of device that they wish to choose to use according to their particular lifestyle. And in this sense, users are able to seamlessly use their PC functions, such as Windows, on their mobile phone whenever they so chose.
Then what this means is, on top of just providing users the freedom of choice in terms of what components they have on their product, they have the freedom of affordability. They can buy the base phone and upgrade as and when they require, just as users use a PC. Simply because PCs can be customized, we expect such customization levels to be conferred onto the mobile and tablet market as well. Essentially then, Microsoft differentiates itself on the freedom of choice.
So essentially the three product types we will be offering are as followed, and the components essentially will be sold at the same time as the base phone, and the base phone will be essentially sold at a rather small margin of 1 to 2%, but the add-ons such as the camera as well as the memory storage devices will be sold at a much larger margin to make up for this small margin of the base phone. And essentially the ecosystem will be sponsored through developer grants. So we start off with a base of 200 developers, and each of them will be given a $100,000 grant for a start.
So lastly, how are we going to bring knowledge about this new product then? Essentially, in terms of our advertising campaigns, we could say it's the typical TV or print ad, but more importantly, the focus should be on educating the customers on the fact that the choice is theirs, and more importantly, we must develop the ecosystem, the developer ecosystem for this product as well, through competitions and grants for the top voted app that these developers make.
So now that we've actually taken a look at our first strategy, which is to customize, let us now take a look at the second strategy, which is our collaborative strategy. So the aim of this strategy is actually to actually bring Microsoft forward by building the Microsoft identity, by tearing down the old notions of Nokia and Microsoft, and actually focusing on the culture of innovation.
So the overview of our strategy will be to bring Microsoft forward with the input and support of our staff, and this will actually be a synergistic process between the company and the staff that they hire.
So the rationale for the collaborative strategy. So now we see that this is Microsoft currently. Firstly, they have acquired Nokia, and with this, they have actually brought up their staff total to just above 100,000 people. Secondly, we see that there's actually clashing company cultures with both Microsoft as well as Nokia. And on top of that, we see that innovation, which is what the new CEO actually wants to take Microsoft the direction in, we see that innovation is actually not a tenet of Microsoft's old culture.
So if we were to move forward with innovation at the forefront of the company, we have to change the way that our employees are treated and the way that they're educated. And we can do that by removing the clashing cultures and emphasizing the importance of innovation within the company culture.
So what we want to see is actually a two-step approach to actually creating the new Microsoft culture. So moving forward, this new culture or this new identity will actually be known as macro, where the individual employees are actually the micros. So the tagline for our new culture is actually micros coming together to form the macro picture. And this is where we actually see that the micros are part of the company and are integral to its success.
For any new culture to be integrated successfully, we would first have to break down the old culture, and then we have to integrate the new culture by educating our employees on what this new culture actually is. And therefore, this is a very important two-step process.
So this two-step process is shown as such. The first will be actually to break down the old notions that are currently present. So we want to see Nadella, as the new CEO, actually reaching out to both the Nokia as well as Microsoft employees through a welcoming video address to actually usher them into the new era that the company is facing, and also to set out the vision that he has for the company. Secondly, we also want to engage all the employees in the focus group discussions, and these will actually be run by the current managers to find out what the staff actually have previously experienced and what they actually hope to experience in the future.
And more importantly, the managers will be sent to actually facilitate this group format discussion during the focus group discussions. And we also would like to run one-day team building activities for each department to ensure that the whole department is immersed within this company culture.
So for this second part, we see that we also want to actually bring the people into the new macro identity that we're actually creating for Microsoft. So we want to physically integrate the micros by actually ensuring that they have an open office space to actually have collaborative efforts. And this visual representation of the open office space will actually help in breaking down the barriers that they actually currently have with respect to the different two cultures that we see.
And more importantly, we also like to have each department to encourage innovation within their teams. And we can do that by having the appropriate incentives. And therefore, we would suggest that every month there will be innovation awards that will be given to the different teams as to when and where they actually innovate a new and good product. And moreover, they also can improve the productivity within the team, and this also be recognized by the company.
So now that we've actually taken a look at both our strategies, this is actually the rough implementation timeline for the two.
Moving on to our financial projections for both of our strategies, we can see that for strategy 1, in the customization segment, we will actually have to break down our customization into two different aspects, the hardware and the software. We'll now go through the main cost drivers for each of our strategy. And it can be seen that for the hardware customization, it will cost us a very high fee of around $450 million.
And secondly, for the software part, we see that the cost drivers are mainly both the developer's incentive as well as the marketing costs for this product. So hence, we see that the total for these two, for the software development, is actually $40 million. And this is actually 8% of our total cost.
Next, moving on to strategy 2, we can see that most of the costs that will be incurred will be by carrying out the team building activities, as well as the renovations and purchasing of new furnitures and fittings, given that we would now like to change our office concept into an open office system. And this will actually add up to around $40 million of our total cost for implementation. So this graph shows the approximate cost breakdown for our two different strategies. For strategy 1, we broke it down into the hardware and software development, while for strategy 2 will comprise mainly of our team building costs as well as renovation.
So let us now take a look at the revenue projections of the base case before we actually see what our two strategies actually do for the revenues of Microsoft.
So in 2015, we project that we will actually earn around $750 million, and this is because we would actually sell our products at an average price of around $750 for the customized phones, and we expect to sell around a million units in the first year. And this revenue will actually grow by a 10% CAGR in 5 years and reach around $1.1 billion in 2019. Moreover, if we implement our second strategy of allowing the company culture to actually gel with innovation, we believe that more customization products and techniques can be developed, and we expect the CAGR to actually rise to 15%, allowing us to actually hit $1.3 billion in 2019.
So these are some of the main risks that we actually have, as well as the mitigations that we have come up with. So for our customizer strategy, we see that the main risk is that the large number of customizations actually create complications within the supply chain. So the mitigation we have for this is actually to have a lean supply chain, or rather a just-in-time system, just like Dell, to ensure that these complications do not pose much of a cost issue for Microsoft.
For strategy 2, our main risk is actually having our skilled workers leaving our company. And this is very, very important for a tech company, given that the main advantage a tech company has is its human capital. And we believe that we can mitigate this by offering high-value remuneration packages to our workers so as to attract them and keep them at Microsoft.
So now that we've taken you through our two strategies of customizers as well as collaborators, let me take you through a holistic approach of how these strategies will help Microsoft as they go forward. So firstly, we see that the main issue was how we can actually integrate Nokia's hardware with Microsoft software. And we have addressed this issue by our customizer strategy, which actually helps to increase customers' ability for choice in their mobile phones. Secondly, we see that the second issue was the fact that there was clashing cultures as well as human resource problems within Microsoft itself. We see that this issue is actually addressed by the the issue of collaborators that we actually have. So this will actually means that we will actually be bringing our two points of staff together to ensure that they come together and see themselves as one Microsoft company. So with that, we hope that these two strategies, the 2C strategies of customizers as well as collaborators, will help in bringing Microsoft forward in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
15-minute Q&A session.
Okay, I'll start first. You have numbers on the revenues, which I kind of assume that you put in a lot of assumptions to get to those numbers. So what do you see are the risks of not achieving those numbers? And what's the factors that the assumption that you made and what will happen that actually will not let you get to those revenues?
Okay, so I'll go on to proceed to answer the question. So one of the key assumptions that we actually take into consideration when calculating our revenue projections is the average price that we're going to sell this new customizable phone for. And we took a range of around $500 for the cheapest end of the customized phone to a very high end of, let's say, $1,200 for a phone that has where a customer has customized all the really high quality parts in it with the best camera, the best memory stick. So we have a range of $500 to $1,200. And we made the assumption that around 70% of our customers will purchase somewhere from the low to mid range, while the 30%, the techies, will actually go up all the way to $1,200 in the customization process. And hence we did that averaging process and we got around $750 for the phone sold for Microsoft. And we assumed that they will actually sell around 1 million units, which is a conservative estimate in the first year, given that our product is not very well known, and that gave us $750 million in the first year.
So what are the risks of not, what's the challenges, the risk that's not achieving this?
So one of the risks is that people do not see the value of adding in all the really high quality parts. People just want something that's mid-end. Then our average price, the price point that we sell a product for, will now be dampened. And moreover, we have to make sure that the products that we sell, the customized phones that we sell, do actually have value to the customer in terms of this whole customization process. If we do not offer enough substitutes or enough alternatives, what happens is that we actually lose. I mean, most customers will just go straight for the simplest customized phone if we do not have a proper portal to allow them to customize the phone, and that might actually also hinder our price point from going up. And given that our revenue is based on the average price that we sell our unit for, any dampening of this average price will actually be detrimental for our revenue projections. It will be lower than $750 million that we actually predicted.
One of the things, just building on your, in terms of the risk of people not paying for the higher spec technological spec customization. One of the things you mentioned early on in the presentation that I thought was interesting was in terms of going up the technological specification and competing with Samsung, for instance. You mentioned that that's not something you would recommend highly, and I just wondered if you can elaborate why not, bearing in mind that a lot of people in the tech industry, they do expect the best in class with a certain standard.
Thank you, I'll take that question. So essentially, what we were doing in that comparison of what customers were looking at was looking at, within the market, which of the players in that market held a dominant position and for what reasons. So understanding that Microsoft already did not have a significant presence in that market, we did not want to propose to Microsoft to essentially enter that market and say, yes, maybe you might build a good phone, or you might build an affordable phone, but you don't even know if they can even grab market share based on those factors, simply because there are already existing players in that market on those factors. So what we were proposing for Microsoft is to instead hinge on the customizability, and more than just having the value proposition on its own of being customizable, you're able to then target multiple segments of the market based on what these customers want individually. So in terms of our advertising campaigns, then we want to focus on the ability to customize so that they are able to essentially rise through the product listings if they wanted to get a more powerful product, or if you wanted to initially save costs and therefore drive down their initial expenditure for that singular product, because we understand that for some of the customers they value affordability, then they could initially buy the basic phone first and then after that upgrade at a later time.
I like the thought process, and I will definitely question the process of integration by modular. In this day and age, a cell phone that any one of us carries has a lifespan of 6 months if you have kids, 2 years at best. So 750, and I won't get into the numbers because I think those are wishy-washy. 750 seems like a high price to pay for a Nokia phone, which predominantly is being run in the market by Samsung or thing. So that's my first question. I don't understand how you believe that you will be profitable when your average phone is going to be charged at $750 with a lifespan of 2 years, with constant upgrades coming along. How your model you believe is going to be successful?
So I'll take the question. So our price point of 750 is actually a weighted average between the high end and the low end. So if you are really cost conscious, you will actually purchase the phone on the lower end, which is around $500. And this is actually a very low price to, if you were to take a look at the mobile market, because we're assuming that no subsidies are given by phone operators yet. So for the iPhone, we do know that if there were no phone subsidies given to by the operator, it will cost up to around $1,000 if you don't have a contract line with a particular mobile operator.
Sure.
So the prices that we're actually quoting here is also before the subsidies given by the mobile operators. And we'll actually work with these mobile operators to come up with affordable subsidy plan so that these phones do remain affordable for people who actually value this factor of affordability. For people who actually want the best phone, the best graphics, the best camera in their phone, then these people will actually not really view affordability as the main aspect when choosing a phone. And the price point of $1,200 shouldn't be that detrimental to our sales.
Have you ever thought of the problem with modules is that you need high stock storage or storage of all the modules, all the components without knowing which ones will come out, and then after 6 months it's obsolete. So how do you address that?
So I think this problem was actually identified as one of our risks for the very first strategy, and how we intend to mitigate this particular risk, because we do know that it will cause significant complications to our supply chain. So we intend to actually remodel our supply chain to take on one that is quite similar to Dell in the sense that it is like a just-in-time system. So what we will do is that we will monitor the actually demand for these add-ons, these add-on modules on a very frequent basis, perhaps on a bi-weekly basis, so that we can ascertain exactly how much to produce, and we will ensure that this is exactly the amount that is demanded by the market at that particular time. And so in this sense, we hope to keep our inventory very low and roll out the modules when we sense that there is a demand for it.
I have a couple questions. I don't see how Microsoft / Nokia keep a patent on this, because in the open architecture system that Google has, we can cut paste that very easily. How do you prevent that? And what's your edge that you have that keeps people Nokia friendly?
I'll take that question. So essentially, we know that the hardware itself can be replicated, but the focus on this product is not simply the hardware, it's also the software that comes with it. So we understand that fundamentally, the core competency of Microsoft software, the Windows software, is that it is an open software in itself. And so people can go in, people can look at it and customize it as much as they want, do what they will with it, and to a large extent, that is one of the key reasons why Microsoft is doing so much better than Apple within the PC market. So we want to bring that customization of the software end of the product to the customers, and that customization is something that Microsoft is familiar with and know how to deliver to their customers. So that is what we hope, in addition to the hardware customization, that customers will value this product for.
Any questions? Do you feel that actually by doing this, you're actually breaking up the brand of Microsoft? Microsoft is to me, I don't know what other things. Microsoft is Windows, or Microsoft is a core PC type that they're strong. But by now moving this into a mobile phone company, are they now losing that value? And are you actually thinking that the old thinking of Microsoft is gone? We should now change the whole brand into a phone company brand.
So I'll take that question. What we're actually proposing is that on top of the current software lines as well as the PC lines that Microsoft currently has, we're not actually proposing that we actually give up these lines, but we're also on top of that, we're actually leveraging on the core competencies of especially this software that they have, which is Windows 8, which is a very good product, which is just not brought out properly to the public. So what we want to do is bring this product, which is the Windows 8 software, into the mobile phones, which we currently are which we actually purchased Nokia for, and bring it into the market, so as to ensure that this software that Microsoft has, and which is its key competency actually, is actually brought to the public and actually used for what it was actually made for. So we actually don't believe that this will actually dilute Microsoft's brand as a PC or a software company, but we believe that actually it will add on to its brand image and also give consumers the idea and the know-how that they actually know that Microsoft is a brand that they can trust, and also at the same time this software is consistent throughout all the different devices and will not actually fail them essentially.
So I guess building on that, your presentation is quite emphasizes quite strongly on the Nokia integration and handset. How do you see the rest of the other business, the PC and the areas like cloud computing side fitting into this strategy, customization and collaborate strategy?
I'll take the question. So essentially, we understand that Microsoft has, at this point in time, already the cloud services software. So all that Microsoft has to do in terms of integration between, say, PC and the cloud services and this new product that we are proposing here is for them to essentially apply what is beneficial in each of these areas to the customer. So for example, if you were to have this product, as mentioned earlier in our presentation, the cloud services will essentially keep, for example, a keychain of all your passwords, which we understand is already done within the market. You can perhaps keep your information, storage of information, and more importantly, it's essentially want to place an emphasis on the seamless use between all of their products. So if we look at what Apple was doing, for example, Apple has essentially an ecosystem of all its products, and that is the kind of ecosystem that we are trying to bring to the customers. But on the one hand, Apple's ecosystem is based on, for example, simplistic design and ease of the user interface. This ecosystem for Microsoft will be based on the level of customization that customers can essentially enjoy, both on the PC end, on the cloud services end, and finally on the product end.
I have one last question, and that is, you haven't spoken in any part of the presentation of what if things go pear-shaped and this Nokia merger does not happen? What are your thoughts? I mean, it happens, but it doesn't gel as well as you're planning. What is the fail-safe for Microsoft to survive?
So I'll take that question. So we do definitely believe that there will be some friction between this merger between Nokia and Microsoft, given that they're very different companies operating in very different industries. So that's why we have our strategy to actually gel these two companies, the workforce of these two companies together to ensure that both of the workforce of these two companies can actually come up with more innovative products. As we know that the tech industry, the most important aspect is innovation, because customers love innovation. So definitely there will be some friction at the start, but we believe that with strategy 2, we'll be able to actually get the workforce to work in tandem, to provide better services and products to our customers, and allow this merger to actually be successful in the long run.
Do you see what, again, focusing on the mobile, are they becoming just another follower of the trend? So where is the part on the innovations?
We do not see the rolling out of this Nokia as well as Microsoft phone to be an innovation follower as it has been in the past, simply because we are introducing a very brand new and innovative aspect that is unheard of within the current mobile industry, and that is the option of customizing the phone as exactly to how the user wants the phone to be. And so this current technology does not exist within the mobile market. And so this is something new that we are bringing, and we do not believe that this will make us innovation laggards as we have been in the past.
Cool.
Okay,
Thank
30
you.
seconds left.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.